Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this special Survival at Stake author reading. I'm Ashley Fraunert, PETA US's Senior Director of Social Media, and I'm excited to welcome you to what promises to be an engaging and eye-opening event. Author Poorva Joshipura, who is also the president of PETA International, has extensively explored how today's most pressing crises, including climate change, pandemics, antibiotic resistance, and even violent crime, are directly linked to humans' treatment of other species. In Survival at Stake, she lays out a powerful roadmap for reversing course and making significant change through simple, everyday actions. It's my honor to introduce the president of PETA International, Poorva Joshipura.
For decades, PETA has been hitting the streets, warning our societal treatment of animals is not only terrible for animals, but humans too. We have dressed as Grim Reapers and have worn hazmat suits, holding signs that read things like chicken and avian flu, go veg, and meat is a biohazard. Our demonstration signs and billboards have warned about meat productions linked to swine flu, the killing of wildlife at a meat market and its likely link to COVID-19, meat consumption and the contracting of E. coli infection, and mad cow disease, and more. Here's a picture of me in 2003 wearing a face mask at a demonstration. I was warning the public that SARS was thought to be linked to meat production. Like with COVID-19, there were speculations then on which species first infected humans. Scientists ultimately traced initial human infections to the use of civet cats kept and killed for food in China. 20 years on from that, I wrote the book you see here, Survival at Stake: How Our Treatment of Animals is Key to Human Existence. I got the idea to write it while sick with COVID in December 2020. That was when the news was dominated by scenes of ambulances queuing outside hospitals, struggling to cope. I thought, if I survive, I have to tell people, again, that it doesn't have to be this way, that we have the power to protect ourselves from diseases like COVID and numerous other major crises affecting us simply by being kind to animals. We live in a global world, and the book's chapters take readers to different continents on an in-depth journey of how the way we handle, rear, transport, and kill up to trillions of animals each year for food, clothing, experimentation, and entertainment risks humanity's future and well-being. The book takes a deep dive into major crises affecting us today on a global scale, such as pandemics and epidemics, antibiotic resistance and other public health risks, the climate catastrophe and pollution, even violence in society, and how they're all inextricably linked to what we do to animals. And it provides readers with a roadmap for changing our destructive trajectory before it's too late. I hope you will pick it up to add arguments to your activism arsenal, and for those who could use extra inspiration for why we must treat all animals with compassion, from ants to whales and all species in between. Early on in the COVID-19 pandemic, the UN Environment Programme's Deputy Executive Director, Elizabeth Mrema, had remarked, "The message we are getting is if we don't take care of nature, it will take care of us." Lo and behold, here we are, in the midst of a public health crisis that our rearing of tens of billions of chickens each year in cruel, overcrowded, filthy conditions for foods that we do not need help create bird flu. In 2003, some may have thought me similar to those people who stand on the street warning the end is nigh. But today, the World Health Organization has sounded the alarm that H5N1 bird flu has become a global zoonotic animal pandemic. The agency now warns while bird flu normally spreads among birds, the H5N1 variety has been increasingly detected in mammals like mink on fur farms. This is worrying, they say, because bird flu in mammals means the virus could adapt to infect humans with ease. H5N1 bird flu has the potential to make the COVID-19 pandemic look like child's play. It has a 60% mortality rate in humans who've caught it. This transmission has been mainly from proximity to sick chickens, but recently a dairy worker in Texas caught it from a cow. This was the first time that we know of that this has occurred, and it followed the first time herds of cows used for milk were found infected with the virus. Now milk commercially sold in the U.S. is testing positive for bird flu too. And what does the swine flu that circulated in 2009, killing possibly over 575,000 people, have to do with a North Carolina pig factory farm? Well, you will have to read the book to find out. But I will tell you this, a lot. Diseases like bird flu, swine flu, and others I describe in the book tell us we simply cannot cram living, feeling, breathing chickens, pigs, and other animals into cages or crates by the thousands in sheds on crowded farms, have them sit in their own waste, deprive them of everything that makes life worth living, and get away with it. There's a chapter in the book dedicated to not only how leather production harms us, but how the production of other animal-derived fashion materials do too. It's called Skin in the Game. A few years ago, a reputed fashion industry report ranked cow leather as the most environmentally disastrous material in fashion, with wool and silk also among the top 5 hardest on the planet. It listed synthetic leather as kinder for the planet than these materials. That's because the animal leather industry uses a wide variety of harsh chemicals to stop skin from rotting off people's feet. Due to laxer environmental protection norms and labor standards than in the US and Europe, today most leather is produced in developing nations for export to Western countries. People who work in leather tanneries there earn poverty wages, all while risking cancers, skin, and respiratory illnesses. The occupational hazards are so severe, 90% of workers in the leather tanning region of Bangladesh die before their 50th birthday. Cow leather is, of course, also disastrous for cows. The first slaughterhouse I ever visited was in Kolkata, India. It was nearly 25 years ago, soon after I joined PETA. I went there with members of the Indian leather industry. They were attempting to get PETA off their back, a futile effort, as you would know. As part of that, we had gone on site visits together, and it was clear from the horror on their faces that they had never seen where the leather they sold comes from themselves. The first thing that hit me before even entering its doors was the stench of decades worth of cutting up animals, blood, organs, intestines, and urine and feces on the floor. The next thing was the sound of men shouting, tools clanking, of chaos and clamor. At the slaughterhouse, as my eyes scanned the groups of butchers forcing animals onto a kill floor, I noticed a calf fighting hard to stay alive. Surrounded by men, some pushing him, others pulling him, his eyes were wide with fear as he battled to stand his ground. Though just a calf, he understood he was in trouble. He could see the cut-apart bodies of others who had been killed before him. He struggled and he bellowed, but the men pushed and pulled him harder until he finally stumbled into the slaughter hall. What must he have been thinking there, amongst humans who want to harm him and dead bodies, and without his mother or anyone he trusted to help him? Was he crying in the hope his mother would hear? In the slaughter hall, some of the men twisted the calf's neck and he fell to the ground with a thud. There, with what looked like a dulled kitchen knife, they sawed at his throat. There was no stunning beforehand. He was fully alert. In his last moments through the crowd, his eyes met mine as he gasped, making a haunting, guttural sound. And then, after enough blood gushed from his neck onto the floor, his eyes went blank, and he was gone. His whole being reduced to something as frivolous as belts or shoes. I was devastated that I couldn't stop this from happening to him. I made a promise that day to the calf that I would spend the rest of mine fighting for animals and telling their stories to help spare others the suffering he experienced in his short, frightening, and painful life. Today, slaughterhouses across India still operate in this way. And the shoes and other leather items sold by brands we know often come from Indian animals killed in this manner. There's so many cows and buffaloes in India to meet global dairy, leather, and beef demand that scientists have warned methane produced by the animals bred in India for these products is a danger to us all. Methane is a potent gas responsible for about 30% of the rise in global temperatures. And did you know just 20 meat and dairy farms located in the US, China, and Brazil and certain EU countries together emit more greenhouse gas than Germany, Britain, or France? Or that the world's 5 biggest meat and dairy producers alone emit more greenhouse gases than ExxonMobil, Shell, or BP, the top 3 oil production companies? Or that scientists are warning meat production because of its colossal land use is the single biggest threat to much of the world's animal and plant life? With the land already cleared and set to be cleared in biodiversity-rich countries for animals used for food or the crops to feed them, Gideon Ishel, research professor of environmental physics at Bard College, said, "Now we can say, only slightly fancifully, you eat a steak, you kill a lemur in Madagascar. You eat a chicken, you kill an Amazonian parrot." This is bad news for wild animals who are, of course, inherently worthy of respect. But it is also bad news for us, because every species has a job to do in nature that often directly impacts our own survival. For instance, a huge variety of insects like bees, wasps, beetles, and moths are pollinators. Houseflies and mosquitoes are pollinators too. Other insects release nutrients from various organic matter such as dung, dead plants, and animals into the soil, making sure dead matter does not simply collect, helping plants grow. Other insects help distribute seeds. Some burrow in the soil, helping to aerate the ground. Then there's bats who pollinate over 500 species of plants, frogs who help ensure the mosquito population doesn't get out of hand, rabbits and moles who dig soil, allowing plants to grow, rhinos and elephants who disperse seeds from the plants they eat. Hundreds of species of birds pollinate plants too. In the book, I call whales Greta Thunbergs with flippers. That's because they are nature's climate activists, existing in part to protect the Earth. When land animals die, carbon is released into the atmosphere, soil, or rocks. However, things are a little different in the ocean. When whales die, they move carbon accumulated in their bodies over their long lifetimes down to the seafloor where it can stay for hundreds of years. Whales are such tremendous carbon stores, they greatly outdo trees. So much so that the International Monetary Fund says one whale is worth thousands of trees, with a single great whale's contribution to protecting our planet valued at about $2 million. But what's the greatest threat to whales? No, it is not whalers, but rather people who eat fish. That's because for every fish eaten, there's often another animal who has died as bycatch. These are any animals who are unintentionally hooked, entangled, or trapped in nets and fishing gears such as sea turtles, seals, and seabirds. The World Wildlife Fund calls bycatch, not deliberate hunting missions, the biggest killer of whales. In fact, the International Whaling Commission says bycatch is the single most direct threat to cetacean populations and welfare. Monkeys, like various kinds of macaques, also play a vital role in nature. Due to all the fruit they eat, large group sizes, and home ranges, they're great at dispersing seeds. They're considered especially important for this job as habitats change. Where other seed dispersers have difficulty surviving, they have so far shown themselves to be more resilient. Yet, despite their importance to forest, long-tailed macaques and rhesus macaques are among the species of monkeys most commonly used in laboratories. In 2022, long-tailed macaques were listed as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, or IUCN. The IUCN blamed habitat loss, the pet trade, hunting, and their capture for use in laboratories. In the 2010s, 60% of over 400,000 long-tailed macaques exported from Asia for this purpose ended up in American laboratories. Experimenters claim these animals are captive bred, but wildlife experts warn this demand is fueling their capture from their jungle homes. In the book, I describe how the use of animals for experiments has brought danger to our door on numerous occasions. In 1989, experimenters in Reston, Virginia made a lucky escape after they imported a shipment of monkeys to test cosmetics and drugs from the Philippines who were infected with an Ebola virus. Ebola, with its rapid spreading capabilities and 50 to 90% mortality rate in people, is ranked as among the deadliest viruses in human history. Luckily, these primates were infected with one of the only 2 Ebola viruses that does not cause symptoms in humans. We didn't know it existed until then. Some years before, experimenters in Germany and an area which is now Serbia were not so lucky. After handling African green monkeys imported from Uganda or their body parts for experiments, laboratory workers and some members of their families began showing symptoms of an infectious disease like a high fever, chills, muscle ache, and vomiting. It is said the patients worsened in days and began bleeding from every opening in their body. 7 of them died. It was determined that they died of a virus that shares a family with the 6th species of Ebola virus. This is how what we now call Marburg virus was first discovered. And who hasn't today heard of monkeypox? Well, it was first discovered through long-tailed macaques sick with it in a laboratory in Denmark. Increasingly, scientists and governments are examining whether animal experiments should be relegated to the history books in favor of modern, human-relevant methods of testing. In September 2021, following efforts by PETA UK and others, the European Parliament passed a resolution to accelerate the transition to innovation without the use of animals in research, regulatory testing, and education. And in April 2025, the National Institutes of Health announced a new initiative to reduce animal use in research. This is all excellent news, including because the use of animals for experiments in slaughterhouses and for entertainment also seems to hurt our species in other ways, by increasing the likelihood of violent crime. In Survival at Stake, I describe PETA's research revealing numerous animal experimenters are linked to violent crimes like murder and rape. PETA observes when animal experimenters cut up, burn, torment, and deliberately sicken animals, they're almost never subject to punishment, since that cruelty is being done under the guise of research. This, they argue, only emboldens many experimenters to commit more violence. One study shows people who are cruel to animals are, in fact, 3 times more likely to commit other violent crimes, including murder, assault, and rape. So what can we do about all of this and other issues I raise in the book? The final chapter is dedicated to this and provides resources for those who want to live vegan and take action for animals in other ways. Despite the subject matter of the book, I believe it is our moral duty to respect animals simply for who they are, because they are sentient, intelligent, and emotional and have the capacity to feel pain and suffer, and not simply because it benefits us to do so. The book ends with a quote from a favorite actor of mine, Joaquin Phoenix, which I will also use to say in closing here. He said, "When we look at the world through another animal's eyes, we see that inside we're all the same, and that we all deserve to live free from suffering." Thank you, and again, please get a copy for someone who needs to hear this. Donate to your local library, and please, if you buy a copy for yourself, lend it to others to read. The word must get out for animals, for the planet, and for ourselves.
Thank you, Poorva, and thank you to all of you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this special presentation.